Hi Year 11s, this video is on the product rule and the quotient rule. So we use the product rule if we have one function times by another function. So if f of x equals u of x times v of x, then the derivative is the derivative of u times by v plus u times by the derivative of v. And another way you can write that is if you have y equals uv, then dy dx equals v times the derivative of u plus u times the derivative of v. Just different ways you can write it. Alright, so let's have a look at some examples so you can see how this works. So in this first one, we've got to find the derivative. F of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared plus 6 multiplied by 2x minus 1. So you see here we've got one thing with x's in it multiplied by something else with x's in it, which shows us it's going to be a product rule. So when we do this, we label the first part of the product u. So we're going to have u equals x cubed plus 3x squared plus 6. And v will be the second part of the product, so 2x minus 1. Now you do the derivative of both of those. So u dash will equal 3x squared plus 6x. And the derivative of v will just be 2, because the derivative of 2x is 2 and the minus 1 disappears. So when we put together this derivative using our product rule, it doesn't matter actually which way you do these steps, but I do it this way because when it comes to the quotient rule, it will end up being the same, and the quotient rule, it is important the order that you put the equation together, okay? So we have the derivative of x equals, I always do the derivative of u first, so 3x squared plus 6x times by v, 2x minus 1, plus the derivative of v, which is 2, multiplied by u. Then we just simplify from there if you can do. So you're going to have 3x squared times 2x, so that would be 6x cubed minus 3x squared plus 12x squared minus 6x. And then expand this part, so we're going to get 2x cubed plus 6x squared plus 12, and then simplify this down some more. So we'll get 8x cubed minus 3x squared plus 12x squared plus 6x squared, which will be plus 15x squared minus 6x plus 12. And there's a derivative. So with these ones, you don't always have to expand and simplify. They're more checking that you can actually use the rule. Okay, I'm going to move these over a bit so I can do part B. All right, B, we have y equals x squared times by the square root of x squared plus 1. So first step here is to write this without the square root. So we'll have x squared times by x squared plus 1 to the power of a half. Now here you see we've got one function x squared multiplied by another function x squared plus 1 to the power of a half that both have x's in. So we need to find u and v. So u will be our x squared, v will be the x squared plus 1 to the power of a half. Derivative of u, 2x. Derivative of v, you'll see this is a chain rule, so you need to apply your chain rule steps. And when you do that, we will get x times x squared plus 1 to the power of negative a half. So that's just your chain rule. So if you need to go and do the chain rule steps to be methodical as you're still new, go for it. Chain rules with simple ones like this, you do end up being able to do them without doing the steps once you feel confident. And now from here, we just apply our product rule. So we're going to have derivative of y, so y dash equals, now derivative of u, 2x multiplied by v, which is x squared plus 1 to the power of a half, plus v dash multiplied by x squared. So I'll just make it look a bit prettier. So the first part will be 2x, and if we wanted to, we could put this bit back under the square root, so x squared plus 1. Plus, now we have x times x squared, which is x cubed. Then we've got x squared plus 1 to the power of negative a half, which means that x cubed will be over the square root of x squared plus 1. So realistically with this, the hardest bit is actually just the simplifying at the end, I find, just making sure that getting rid of my negative powers and the square roots is all done correctly. Part C, we've got f of x equals x times the square root of 1 minus x squared. So first of all, we need to write this in a form that we can differentiate, which would be x multiplied by 1 minus x squared, all to the power of a half. Now we're just going to make our u's and v's for our product rule. So the u would be x and the v would equal 1 minus x squared to the power of a half. Differentiate each of these, so u dash will be 1. Derivative of v is a chain rule, so you need to do that process, and once you've done the process you end up with negative 2x multiplied by a half multiplied by 1 minus x squared to the power of negative a half. Tidy this up and we end up with negative x multiplied by 1 minus x squared to the power of negative a half. We now need to apply the product rule, which remember is u dash v plus v dash u. And that will give us 1 multiplied by v, which is 1 minus x squared to the power of a half, plus v dash times by u, so it will be x multiplied by negative x multiplied by 1 minus x squared, all to the power of negative a half. And then we can just tidy this up, which would be 1 minus x squared to the power of a half minus x squared multiplied by 1 minus x squared to the power of negative a half. Then if you want to write with square roots and fractions, you would end up with the square root of 1 minus x squared minus x squared all over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Quotient rule is a little bit more intense, so it's when you have a function divided by a function, and the derivative of that is u dash times v minus u times v dash. The numerator there is exactly the same as what we just did with the product rule. It's the reason I do the product rule that way around, because it matches the quotient rule, so you just remember that and you'll be fine. And then that is all divided by v squared. So let's have a go at some and use this rule, see how we go. So this first one, we've got y equals x squared minus 3 over 3x minus x squared. So our u is always our numerator, which will be x squared minus 3. Our v is our denominator, which will be 3x minus x squared. Find the derivative of each of these, so the derivative of u will be 2x. The derivative of v will be 3 minus 2x. And then we just use the rule. So the derivative of y will be u dash times v. So u dash is 2x times by v minus u times by v dash. Or you can do that as v dash u, either way around is fine. Then all this is divided by v squared. Then that's your quotient rule, and then from there we can simplify if it looks like it might make it a bit nicer, which it will in this case. It may not look like it at the start, but it does. The one thing we very, very rarely simplify is the denominator. We normally just leave that as it is, but we just simplify the numerator. So this will give us 6x squared minus 2x cubed. Now be careful with this minus here, it's minus the whole thing on the side, so I'm going to do a minus in brackets. And we're going to get, if we expand it, 3x squared minus 2x cubed minus 9 plus 6x. That will still all be divided by 3x minus x squared all squared. So when we simplify this, look for the highest power. So we've got minus 2x cubed minus 2x cubed. So that's going to be minus 2x cubed plus 2x cubed, which will just cancel each other out. We're going to have 6x squared minus 3x squared, which gives us 3x squared, We've got minus out the front of the brackets and a plus 6x in the brackets, which will be minus 6x. Then we've got a minus 9, which will be plus 9. And that will be all over 3x minus x squared, all squared. And that is that simplified. Normally in the IB exam, they're not too bothered about how much you simplify. So if you just left it at this first step where we put the equation together, you should still get the answer correct because they are testing you know how to use a rule. With these, not that your simplifying skills are up to scratch. All right, B. 5x plus 3 all over x squared plus 1. So same idea. Find out the u. So our u will be the numerator and our v is the denominator. Do the derivative of both of those. So 5x plus 3, the derivative's just 5. The derivative of x squared plus 1 is 2x. Then we just put it all into our rule. So the derivative will be u dash times by v minus v dash times by u. All divided by v squared. And then from here, we can just simplify. So we're going to have 5x squared plus 5 minus 2x times 5x. So it's going to be minus 10x squared. And then minus 2x times by 3, so minus 6x. And remember the denominator, just leave it as it is. And we've got 5x squared minus 10x squared will give us minus 5x squared. Plus 5 and minus 6x are left, so would they just stay as they are. And that, once again, is all over x squared plus 1, all squared. And there's your derivative of that function using the quotient rule. Now that's all there is for this video. So now from your booklet 3, you are able to go and do pages 4 to 9 and complete the booklet with the IB questions. If you have any questions at all, please just send me an email and we can look at where you're struggling and maybe go through some stuff in a bit more detail. Talk to you soon.